Hello, students. Have you ever really looked at the ground beneath your feet? You know, the soil in your garden or on the farms you see, or even just the dirt on the side of the road? It might seem like it's just there, but you know what? That soil is one of the most important resources we have on our planet. So let's dig in and understand why.
So first things first, what exactly is soil? Well, we define it as the most important renewable natural resource. Now, it's the place, the medium where plants grow. And it doesn't just support plants, it supports all kinds of living organisms on the earth, from the tiniest insects to us. It truly is a living system.
Now, I just said that soil is renewable, but we have to be careful with that word. Why? Because it takes millions of years just to form a few centimeters of soil. Can you imagine that? Millions of years. This incredibly slow process is what makes our soil so precious, and it's why we have to be very careful with it. Okay, so if it takes millions of years to form, what is actually going on during that time? What are the ingredients that make soil? Let's take a look beneath the surface and understand all the different factors that come together to create the ground we stand on. All right, let's go through these factors one by one. First, we have relief and parent rock. That just means the shape of the land, is it a mountain or flat plain, and the type of rock that everything starts from. Next is climate. Things like rain, wind, and temperature changes help to break down that big parent rock. Then we have vegetation and other forms of life. When plants and animals die, they decompose and add organic matter to the soil. Of course, time is a very important factor. It gives all these other things millions of years to work. Then there are the forces of nature, like running water in rivers or huge glaciers that grind down rocks into smaller pieces. And finally, the activities of decomposers. These are tiny living things like bacteria and fungi that break everything down and make the soil rich and fertile. It's like a big natural recipe.
Now, if you were to dig straight down into the ground, you wouldn't just find one type of soil. You would find different layers, almost like a layered cake. This whole structure, all these layers together, is what we call a soil profile. Let's look at each layer starting from the very top. Right at the top, we have the topsoil. This is the upper layer, and it is the most important one for growing our food. It's usually dark in color because it's rich in something called humus. Humus is just the organic matter from dead plants and animals that has decomposed. This layer has all the nutrients that plants need to grow. If we go a little deeper, just below the topsoil, we find the subsoil. You'll see it has a lighter color. That's because it has less humus and organic matter. This layer is made of weathered rocks, sand, and clay. The roots of very large trees can reach down into this layer. And as we go deeper still, we reach the substratum. This layer is made of weathered or partially broken down parent rock material. It's like a transition layer between the soil above and the solid rock that lies below. And finally, at the very bottom, we have the parent rock, which is also called bedrock. This is the solid, unweathered rock. Over millions and millions of years, it is this rock that breaks down to form all the layers above it. The substratum, the subsoil, and that all-important topsoil. So you see, this entire structure makes up the soil profile. So we've just learned about the long recipe for making soil and the different layers it has. Now, depending on factors like the parent rock and the climate, this recipe produces very different kinds of soil in different places. So let's go on a journey across India and look at the major soil types found here. This map shows us just how diverse the soils in India are. If you look at the north, that light green color shows the vast northern plains, which are covered in alluvial soil. We'll talk about that one first. And see that grayish patch in the center? That's the famous black soil. The pink areas show red and yellow soils. Let's start by looking at some of these more closely. Let's begin with alluvial soil. This is the most widely spread and, you could say, the most important soil in India. The entire northern plains region is made of this soil. It has been deposited over thousands of years by three very important Himalayan rivers, the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. Since this soil is made of fine particles brought down by rivers, it is very fertile. And because it's so fertile, it's perfect for agriculture. This is the soil where we grow many important crops, like sugarcane, paddy, that's rice, wheat, and many other grains and pulses. So what are the features of alluvial soil? Well, as we said, it's very fertile. It contains good amounts of potash, phosphoric acid, and lime. It's made of a mix of sand, silt, and clay. Now, interestingly, We classify it based on its age. The older alluvial soil is called bangar, and the newer, more recent deposits are called qadar, which is even more fertile. You find this soil across the northern plains and also in the eastern coastal plains.
All right, let's move on to our next important soil type, black soil. As you can guess from the name, it is black in color. It has another famous name, Rieger soil. This soil is ideal for growing cotton, which is why it is often called black cotton soil.
Now, black soil is made of extremely fine clayey material. This gives it a special quality. It is very good at holding moisture. Something very interesting happens when this soil gets dry and hot weather. It develops these deep cracks, which you can see in the picture. This is actually helpful because it allows air to get deep into the soil. We call this aeration. So, to summarize the features of black soil, it is black in color and also known as Rieger soil. It is ideal for growing cotton. It is made of very fine clayey material and has a high capacity to hold moisture. It is also rich in soil nutrients like calcium carbonate, magnesium, potash, and lime. You'll find this soil mainly in the Deccan Trap region, which covers parts of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, and Madhya Pradesh. Now, besides alluvial and black soils, India has many other important types. There are red and yellow soils found in parts of the Deccan Plateau. There is laterite soil, found in areas with very heavy rainfall. In the dry desert areas of Rajasthan, we find arid soil, and in the hilly and forested areas, we have forest soils. Each soil has its own special characteristics. We have just seen how valuable and how different our soils are, but there's a very serious threat to this precious resource. That threat is called soil erosion. So now we must understand what this problem is and why it happens. So what is soil erosion? Simply put, it is the removal of the soil cover, or the washing and blowing away of the topsoil. Remember, that topsoil is the most fertile layer. This erosion can be caused by natural forces like wind and running water, but often it is made much worse by human activities like deforestation, which is cutting down trees, overgrazing by animals, and poor farming methods. Now, erosion can look different in different situations. What you see on the left is called gully erosion. This is where running water cuts deep channels into the land, making it unfit for farming. On the right, you see sheet erosion. This happens when water flows over a large area like a sheet and slowly removes the thin top layer of soil. Both of these are very harmful. So, we have a very serious problem. The soil that takes millions of years to form can be lost in just a few seasons. But the good news is that there are things we can do to stop this. We can protect our soil. Let's look at some of the methods of soil conservation. Let's discuss 4 important methods. First is contour plowing. Instead of plowing straight up and down a hill, farmers plow along the contour, or the curve of the hill. This slows the water down as it flows. Second is terrace cultivation. In hilly areas, slopes are cut into steps, or terraces. This also slows down water flow and prevents soil from washing away. Third is strip cropping. Here, large fields are divided into strips, and strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. The grass helps to break the force of the wind. And finally, shelter belts. This involves planting long rows of trees. These trees act as a shield or a shelter to protect the fields from strong winds, especially in sandy and desert areas. As we have seen, soil is the foundation for our food and for our life. Protecting it is not just an option, it is essential for us and for all future generations. This reminds me of a very famous quote from Mahatma Gandhi: "There is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed." This is a powerful thought that reminds us to use our precious natural resources, like soil, with great care and respect.